Live, the #1 news in the Capital District. Mary Beth Wenger. Sports with Kyle Kraska. And weather with Kelly Boland. This is NewsCenter 6.
It's the blizzard of '93. The Capital District is stormed by a once-in-a-century weather maker. Good evening. We're only beginning to see the worst of the blizzard of '93 as its strength is just starting to build. Meteorologist Steve LaPointe and Kelly Boland have been predicting this storm all week long. Right now, let's turn to our weather team, beginning with Steve LaPointe for the up-to-the-minute word on the storm.
Thanks a lot, Mary Beth. Radar right now continues to show snow over much of the region. Snow heavy at times, especially over Berkshire County and down to the south. We've just had a report from Selkirk of over 18 inches of snow, 18.5 inches of snow. Some snowfall rates now down here between 2 and 4 inches an hour. Winds are stronger to the south of Albany, between about 30 and 50 miles an hour right now, and those winds should be making it up the Hudson Valley. Albany's gusts right now about 25 to 30 miles an hour. Let's go to Satellite Loop. Look at this storm. I have never seen a storm of this magnitude like this come up the Atlantic seaboard. Record low barometric pressures and plenty of moisture coming into the system. However, we are seeing somewhat of a break developing here, and it's a little too early to tell just how that's going to play into this particular system. I'll have a little more information on that coming up in the full weathercast. Right now, weathercaster Kelly Boland is out in the midst of this blizzard on the weather patio. She's got more information on some of the snow accumulations that we have into the Weather Center already. Kelly?
That's right, Steve. As you can see, the blizzard is in full swing out here on the weather patio with snow accumulating everywhere, including on my eyelashes on the top of my head. I would like to thank all of our weather spotters who have been a big help on the top of every hour. I've been calling and checking with them to find out about snowfall accumulations as well as wind gusts. Let's see our map right now and show you some of those accumulations. And we picked up a good 14 inches of snow, or 17 inches now in East Jewett in the Catskill Mountains. Albany County Airport picked up 11 inches. That's at a rate of 1 to 2 inches an hour. Out here on the patio, we also have 11 inches of snow on the ground. And North Adams, Massachusetts, they've upgraded from 9 inches. They now have 14 inches on the ground. New Baltimore has between 11 and 12 inches on the ground. It's blowing hard. They have gusts at about 30 or 35 miles per hour. They also had some thunder snow about a half hour ago with some reports of lightning. In fact, I thought I saw a flash of lightning out here on the weather patio as well not too long ago. Up in the Adirondacks, anywhere from 8 to 12 inches has fallen. They have only seen the beginning of this storm, though. The snow is just starting to pick up there. And as you can see, the snow is really blowing all over the place. Visibility greatly reduced to near zero in some spots, and that's why a lot of the roads have been closed. Back to you, Marty.
Be honest, it's miserable out there.
It sure is, but it's exciting.
All righty, thank you, Kelly Boland. What we're getting right now is just part of the monster storm that's tormenting the entire East Coast. So far, at least 15 people have died in the blizzard. That storm's hitting states from Florida to Maine. Reporter Paul Palmer was out in the thick of it today. He joins us now live outside with more on how the capital region's coping. Paul?
Well, Marty, right now, preparedness and patience, the key words to any kind of survival. People right now are coping with this blizzard any way they can. Make no mistake about it, this is an emergency. For those who have to be out in the storm, to those trying to help everyone else cope and survive the blizzard of '93.
We restocked all night, no problem. We put up 2 tractor-trailer loads of grocery last night, and we have 3 coming in tonight.
Getting around is nearly impossible and getting worse with every passing hour, no matter what your method of transportation.
Monday night's the first train they had to Chicago. Okay. Well, we'll just stay on the airplane then.
But some are just digging in, others digging out, and yes, the mail did get through. Now, right now, we're being told the Albany County Airport is closed. That's right, the airport is closed. They expect it'll be that way possibly until Monday. Your best bet is to call tomorrow and see if you want to get out. Adirondack Trailways, no more service going out of or into this region. Amtrak, about the only way to get in or out of here. There are some delays, so call them. And right now, if my photographer, Bruce Forget, will pan down, this is the amount of snow we've gotten so far on the weather patio. You can see it's about up to my knees. It's been falling tremendously all day, and we're going to be here throughout the night keeping you updated on what's going and how people are dealing with this storm.
We'll be here around the clock.
That's right. Thanks, Paul.
Okay.
I'm glad I'm not out there. Well, right now, let's get a look at how the storm is hitting the southern half of the capital region. Correspondent Lance Wheeler is live on the roof of our Hudson Bureau to tell us what's going on in Columbia and Greene counties. Lance, what's up?
Well, Mary Beth, the roads are all but impassable. Highway crews are fighting the battle of the century, trying to keep road crews open for emergency transportation. Columbia and Greene County residents were hit first with heavy snow and pounding winds. Now at 5:30, winds were clocked at over 40 miles an hour. We can hear thunder rumble through the snow. Authorities have put emergency plans into action. In Columbia County, shelters have been set up in firehouses in Stuyvesant Falls, Ankrum, Hillsdale, New Lebanon, and at Germantown Town Hall and Hudson High. Greene County has 7 shelters for residents who may have lost power or heat, including a site at the Catskill Hose Company number 1.
If it gets really windy and there are power outages, I would expect some people are going to need a place to go. So yes, we might have quite a few people here.
Mary Beth, we've just been told by emergency management people in Columbia County that they have declared a state of emergency. Only fire, police, medical, and emergency vehicles are authorized on the roads tonight in Columbia County.
Okay, thanks, Lance, for that report. Now, it seems a little silly to say it, but it's true. If you don't have to go out, please don't. In fact, in many parts of the capital region, you can't go out because major highways and roads are simply closed. For more on road conditions, let's go live to traffic reporter Fred Cole. Fred?
Marty, highways and city streets have become impassable for most vehicles out here. The New York State Thruway is closed from Harriman, exit 16 to the south, all the way across the state to exit 46, which is Rochester to the west. Now it's closed until further notice, and state police are now doing a sweep to make sure all vehicles are off the road. To the east, the Massachusetts Turnpike officially closed to all traffic. Tolls are not being collected. Any travel on the turnpike is at your own risk. Interstate 88 also closed in Schenectady, Schoharie, and Otsego counties. The Northway, Interstate 787, and all roads in Delaware County are closed. And we just got word, Marty, that Schoharie and Schenectady counties both have a state of emergency. All roads are closed to all but emergency vehicles, Marty.
Okay, Fred, we may be back to you a little later in this newscast. Road problems have caused entire communities to shut down tight tonight, including Delaware County and the village of Cooksaki after 7 o'clock tonight, except for emergency vehicles. Mary Beth?
And Marty, this just in from the Capital District Transportation Authority. They normally have 10 to 12 routes running on a Saturday night. Well, right now they're canceling all those routes except the one that runs between Schenectady and Albany. That's route number 5. And route number 22, which runs between Schenectady and Troy, which will run until 8 o'clock tonight. CDTA officials want to have all the buses back to their garage by 9 if possible. They're planning to run regular Sunday routes tomorrow, and we will keep you posted if those plans change. Emergency rooms in area hospitals are full tonight. Officials at St. Clair's Hospital in Schenectady are advising people to stay home so they avoid getting in accidents. They also recommend only the young and fit attempt to shovel because the majority of emergency room patients right now are there because they're complaining of chest pains.
A lot of chest pains, people shoveling snow, slipping and falling.
What about accidents, car accidents, that kind of thing?
I haven't seen many car accidents. I think people are staying off the street for the most part.
And across the capital region, rescue crews are setting up emergency shelters for victims of the blizzard. Right now, you're looking at a picture from Clifton Park where volunteers are turning their firehouse on Route 146 into a refuge for those in need. And right now, let's go live there to Clifton Park at the firehouse where we're going to be talking to John Kaiser, who is with the Clifton Park Fire Department, and they are setting up a shelter there, I believe. John, are you there?
Yes, I am, Mary Beth.
John, what are you offering to the people out there tonight in Clifton Park?
Well, we've got 2 phases going on here right now. Number 1 is bolstering our emergency response. We've had snowmobiles, sleds, and 4-wheel drive vehicles donated so that we can get an emergency response out to the community if the snow prohibits our regular trucks from getting there. And the second thing we're doing is we're opening up our firehouse from now during the duration of the storm. If we get into a situation where we need to have emergency shelter set up here, we'll be available to do that for the residents of our district.
John, so far, has anyone taken advantage of your shelter?
Right now, we have mostly families of the fire department here because the men and women are going to be here all night, so some of their families have come over to spend the night with them. But we haven't run into a situation yet with the surrounding community, but we're standing by just in case that happens.
John Kaiser, we thank you for joining us. You're with the Clifton Park Fire Department, and you're on Old Route 146, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, and the shelter is set up there for people who need to go there. Thanks,
That's
John.
right.
And be sure and shovel out those fire hydrants.
Right.
They'll need your help doing that, too. Now, Clifton Park isn't the only area town to set up a shelter in the event you lose power or have no food or water. Take down the numbers on your screen now for shelters in your area.
And in order to get the tremendous amount of snow off the streets, there are a number of snow emergencies in effect locally. In Albany, the snow emergency starts 8 Sunday night. Cars should be on the even side. By 8 p.m. Monday, they should be parked on the odd side. In most cities and towns, just keep your cars off public thoroughfares. In Mechanicville, odd side parking until 8 p.m. tonight, even side parking after 8 p.m. In Waterford, snow removal starts 1 p.m. tomorrow. Get cars off village streets now. Snow emergencies in effect in Ravenna, Stillwater, and certain streets in Cohoes, and a 48-hour emergency in effect in Amsterdam. In Columbia County and Montgomery County, residents are advised to stay off the roads to allow emergency and road crews to get through.
As unbelievable as it is, we have no power outages to report just yet, but Niagara Mohawk has sent over some suggestions just in case it happens. Now, if the power goes off, try to avoid opening the door to the refrigerator, and that, they say, will keep the food cold until the power comes back on.
Burn only wood, not coal. Coal gives off toxic fumes, including carbon monoxide.
Unplug major appliances such as your television, stereo, and computer. When the power comes back on, your appliances won't be damaged by electrical surges.
And in case you experience a power outage, we do have some numbers to call. For our Niagara Mohawk, the numbers are on your screen.
And for New York State Electric and Gas, again, the numbers will appear on your screen. We're going to repeat these numbers throughout the newscast, so if you want to get a pen and a piece of paper, you can jot them down. Okay.
And do remember, if you lose power, you can hear us on a portable radio. That's at 87.7 on your FM dial. You might want to write that down as well. Right now, let's check on what problems the storm is creating in other parts of the East Coast. Jack Arneke has been monitoring the storm in our satellite news center. Jack.
Mary Beth, let's start way down south in Florida. In Tampa, lots of high wind damage as a line of severe storms runs across the state. 13 of the 15 fatalities are in the Sunshine State. A couple of hours north of Tampa, in Pensacola, they're making snowmen. Atlanta, the weather not peachy as heavy snow hits a city that was 70 degrees just a couple of days ago. The Maryland shore, very high winds lashing into beaches and forcing boat owners to try to keep their craft afloat. In Washington, the White House in the middle of a whiteout. No, that is not the president. The Jersey Shore, high winds also ripping apart the coast, as those winds are or will on Long Island, along Rhode Island, and the Cape. In Spartanburg, West Virginia, the spring flowers graced a memorial to the suddenly delayed spring. And in every storm, you find a couple of yahoos. These two were ruining their car's interior in Baltimore. And Mary Beth is one who's lived most of his life with his top down. It's not advisable in this type of weather.
That's right, Jack. I know a lot of people around here are keeping tabs on what's going on, like, say, in Cape Cod. They have summer homes there. Elsewhere in this East Coast area?
Yes, and the high winds are going to be there or will be soon, and you're going to see high winds that are very, very similar to what you saw in those pictures off of Maryland and off of New Jersey. It's just going to be a very tough time. Once again, more beach erosion, more damage to buildings along the coast.
All right, thanks a lot, Jack, for that update.
Well, the blizzard forced the city of Albany to pull its plug on the St. Patrick's Day Parade today. Organizers aren't sure when they'll reschedule.
In keeping with that, the Albany Safe Ride program, which was supposed to take effect with the parade, has been canceled as well. But the weather couldn't stop the festivities in Troy. Their St. Patrick's Day Parade stepped off as planned. Very few people braved the storm, however, to come out and watch the parade. Some hardy souls out there.
That's a brave bunch. They had a good time. Still ahead on NewsCenter 6. Imagine planning a wedding with guests coming from near and far to attend, and then the blizzard hits. Just a couple of minutes, we'll take you live to the altar where you'll see how one local couple cleared every hurdle in order to tie the knot, despite this incredible weather. Back after this. From New York City, and what we can tell you is it's quite a mess there as well. Rain now and also sleet falling in New York City. Steve tells me that wind gusts there up to 77 miles per hour, and they accumulated 10 to 11 inches of snow before the changeover to both rain and sleet. So it's quite a mess in New York City as well.
They're getting it before we're getting it, so we're seeing a preview of things to come, perhaps.
Boy, nothing you like to see.
Really.
In the midst of the blizzard of '93, a wedding is taking place at this very moment at an Albany church.
Marty, this is an incredible story. It was a wedding that almost didn't happen. And when Ron Carlucci and his bride-to-be, Chris Mink of Latham, let us know that the storm was keeping away a third of their guests, we stepped in to help. Ken Screven is live at St. Mary's Catholic Church in downtown Albany with a story that changes by the minute. Ken.
That's right, Mary Beth, and it's difficult to top any of the stories of the blizzard of '93, but I've got a story about the perseverance of love and how to handle the violence of Mother Nature. There was supposed to be a wedding right now in this church, St. Mary's in downtown Albany. The groom made it, half the wedding party made it, but the bride could not make it through the storm.
They planned it down to the last detail. Everything was perfect.
Except the snow.
Except the snow.
The storm of the century, they're calling it, and came on the same day that these guys planned to get married. Ron and Christine tossed all tradition into the blizzard and rode together in a Jeep today before the ceremony to the Desmond Hotel, where all their wedding plans were tossed into a blender when this incredible storm hit.
We think the limousine's canceled. We're going to have buses here to take everybody down to Albany to the church.
It ain't easy. We might have to go to the wedding in a horse and buggy.
Hopefully everybody will make it to the church, all right?
You're nervous?
Yes, very.
More for the snow or for just getting...
snow.
By noon, nearly half the people invited to the wedding canceled due to the weather. Desmond opened its doors to allow the wedding party to gather here and dress.
You'll be a beautiful bride.
Over here, where do you want them?
Wait.
David brought them. Bring them in here.
Huh? Well, somehow the flowers made it here from New York City, and so did these hardy relatives.
We heard on radio that there were a number of other people who were going to a wedding in Albany, and we're not coming. We said, do you think that's the same one?
Chris and Ron spent the day panicking and brushing back tears, trying to get to this church on time. Mother Nature didn't cooperate with them today, but it will make a great story to tell their kids.
I'll talk to you later.
Repeat.
Just a few moments ago, I'd say about 20 minutes ago, the entire wedding party that did make it to the church realized that the bride could not get here. So they all got back into cars and went back to the Desmond, hopefully for a wedding ceremony very soon, Mother Nature allowing. Back to you.
Right, Ken. And right now, as you said, the bride is stranded in Colony at the Desmond Hotel. And since she's not been able to make it to the altar yet, we decided to link her up with her groom. And we're going to go to her now. They are both joining us now live on the phone, we believe, from the Desmond. Chris and Ron.
Hey, baby.
Hey, what's up?
Ron's at the church. Okay.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I see you all right.
How do I look?
Look great. Get up here.
How you doing?
You got to get up here.
Father Michael's waiting. He's driving us up.
You promise?
Yep.
Okay. You got to get up here soon.
Very soon.
These guys are getting wrinkled.
How you doing?
All right.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm really ready.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll see you in a little bit.
Okay, baby.
I love you.
Ron, once you finally do get married and tie the knot, will the festivities go on as planned?
Yes, and they'll go pretty late because midnight is the bride's birthday.
Oh, so a double celebration tonight.
Yes.
Okay, Ron and Chris, thank you so much for joining us, and we're going to follow this up and have more for you tonight at 11 o'clock. We certainly want to see the ending to this, happy ending to this story.
Thank you.
Great.
It is.
They're going to be honeymooning in Alaska.
And the stories they will tell for years and years and years.
Lots of stories. Well, up next, it's back to the Weather Center and meteorologist Steve LaPointe for the very latest information on the blizzard of '93.
Thanks, Marty. The blizzard continues to rage. I will have the latest, including a new set of snow accumulations just in when we come back.
What you're seeing are pictures, more pictures from the blizzard of '93. These are coming to us from Baltimore as we continue our coverage, a special hour edition of NewsCenter 6. No one knows how serious this storm is more than these two gentlemen who have been following it all day long today. And we're going to turn to Steve LaPointe now for the very latest.
Really a tremendous storm, not only in magnitude, but in total scope and coverage across the country. When you think it was snowing in Pensacola, Florida this morning, snow and blizzard conditions in Atlanta, Georgia, I mean, that is just unbelievable. And now it's here. Blizzard conditions across the Capital District. Let's go to some video. This is in Hudson. Look at how strong the winds are blowing down in Hudson right now. Wind-driven snows, bona fide blizzard conditions there, and I think the winds are only going to get worse, at least for a time, as we head through the evening. All right, let's go to temperatures. I haven't talked too much about those today. They seem relatively minor, but in this particular situation, not the case. When you combine temperatures in the teens and low 20s, you get wind chills well below zero when you're talking about winds gusting to 40 miles an hour, and that is, in fact, what we have across the region. So very, very cold night. Temperatures will gradually fall through the teens overnight and continue to fall through the teens coming up tomorrow. So we will be talking about wind chills approaching 40 degrees below zero, especially as we head into the day tomorrow. Here is the storm on satellite right now. Very well organized storm. Central pressure 28.4 inches of mercury. Storm center now located right about here. Moisture continues to swirl into the system. However, I am noticing that there's a bit of a break that seems to be developing down in this region. That could mean we see a bit of a let-up in the snow activity as we head through the evening. However, the winds will be quite strong out of the east-northeast at 35 to 40 miles an hour with some gusts to 50. So even if the snow does tend to let up, we're still going to see blizzard conditions because of everything that's fallen on the ground. We'll see all that snow blowing around. In fact, we've got about 11 to 12 inches on average throughout much of the Capital District and western New England. Some of the new totals coming in with 18.3 on the ground at Selkirk. This is what the storm looks like on the surface. Simply a monster. Powerful winds not only out ahead of it, but behind it. Winds gusting 60 to 65 miles an hour. And as this storm tracks off to the north and east and we get into that backlash tomorrow, we will see winds very, very strong during the day as well. Boston's winds, maximum gust 81 miles an hour. That occurred at around 5:30. 77 mile an hour winds along New York City and the mid-Atlantic coast here. So a very serious situation with serious coastal flooding along the coast of New England, Long Island, down through the mid-Atlantic. Radar loop does indicate the moisture coming up from the south. This also tends to indicate that there's a bit of a drying developing here. So as this moisture continues to wrap in around the front side of the storm, we may see that snow letting up briefly coming up this evening. But notice the snow seems to be gathering some strength back in here. This may also wrap around the backside of the storm as it pulls up. So again, there may be a bit of a lull in the snow coming up tonight, but certainly not a lull in the blizzard conditions because the winds, I think, will only intensify for a time this evening. 12 to 24 inches by the time this whole storm is done. I think we're going to be closer to the high end of this range in the Mohawk Valley and the Capital District. 15 to 30 inches of snow in the Catskills, the Berkshires, southern Vermont, much of the Adirondacks. No question about it, this is a major storm. By late tomorrow, though, the blizzard will be pulling way off into Canada. We may see a lull once again during the morning, but then the backlash winds, perhaps some backlash snows get us tomorrow morning into early tomorrow afternoon. Then we're left with scattered snow showers and lots of clouds with sub-zero wind chills. Blizzard conditions probably continuing well into Sunday, not because it'll be snowing, but because we'll be blowing all that snow around. By Monday, however, things should begin improving. All right, let's go to my forecast. This is the way it shapes up for tonight. Obviously, blizzard conditions. There may be some thunder snows. We've had it reported. Boston and New Baltimore as well. 12 to 24 inches with 25 to 50 mile an hour winds. Temperatures falling into the teens. For tomorrow, we will see backlash snows with severe cold taking temperatures in the teens and 30 to 60 mile an hour winds will give us wind chills at 40 degrees below zero or even lower than that. So not a great day coming up. For tomorrow night, winds will abate a little bit, 20 to 25 miles an hour, clearing cold, low temperature 5 degrees. And finally, my forecast for Monday, mixture of sun and clouds, cold 20s, possibly low 30s if we're lucky. And here's the extended forecast. Chance of another storm coming in here Tuesday night into Wednesday, a small one, a brief warm-up, and then a cool down once again as we head into Thursday. So just to recap briefly, blizzard conditions gripping the region. There may be a bit of a lull coming up over the next couple of hours, and then perhaps another backlash event of snow coming in later on tonight. So certainly a tough night for travel.
Don't be fooled by the lull. And
that's right. If the lull materializes, certainly don't be fooled by it because it probably won't take long for more snows and more winds to come in.
Okay, our hat's off to you. I've said it before. You know, a lot of people depend upon what you've done, and you've done a tremendous job.
We're trying. It's amazing to see something like this, and the information coming into the Weather Center is just overwhelming. So Kelly and I have been maxed.
Yep, you've done a nice job. Lots of believers now.
Thanks, Steve. Well, the fierce winter weather takes its toll on the sports scene as well. Ed O'Brien sitting in for Kyle Kraska tonight, and he has a look at what's happening and what isn't next.
We're continuing our hour-long storm edition of NewsCenter 6. We're looking at pictures from New York City where the bad weather today caused some big problems at Madison Square Garden.
And some problems up here for RPI, for the Red Wings. I guess the only sports going on is on TV, not around here.
And you know, it's funny because TV had problems. CBS had trouble because of the leaky roof at Madison Square Garden today. The Knicks had to call their game off tonight. RPI has called its game off as well, and you know, after the way they played last night, this is probably the last thing the engineers wanted. But it just goes to show you, you can't fool with Mother Nature. RPI's game against Colgate will not be played tonight. They are scheduled to go at 7 tomorrow night. Also called off tonight's AHL game between the Red Wings and Rochester up in Glens Falls. Most of the NHL action is canceled for tonight, but the Bruins squeezed one in against Ottawa. Crowd pretty much left to its own devices. They still get about 9,000 for the game. Boston on the power play, such as it is. The Bruins get about 10 shots here before Ruzicka finally puts it home, and the Bruins win 6-3. Now, Big East basketball at the Garden this afternoon, where Seton Hall advances to the conference championship game. And what is this? Providence brings the ball up, penetrates, turns it over. Now here comes Seton Hall back the other way. Terry DeHare ahead of the field, but for some reason can't put it down. That's okay. Caver on the follow. A thing of beauty it is not, but the Pirates get the job done. Seton Hall moves into the finals with a 69-60 victory over Providence. And now on the scoreboard, Syracuse with a 12-point win over St. John's. Of course, even if the Orange win the tournament, they still can't go to the NCAAs because they're on probation. Now, a couple of upsets in college basketball this afternoon. LSU beats number 5 Vandy 73-62, and K-State over Kansas 74-67. Boxing this afternoon down in Poughkeepsie. Tracy Patterson puts his WBC Super Bantamweight title on the line against Jesse Benavides. And what a terrific fight this turns out to be. These two guys bang away, start to finish, could have gone either way. But the hometown fighter gets the call. A close, unanimous decision for Patterson. He keeps the title. In Utica this afternoon, folks, Saratoga over Suffern 6-1. That means Saratoga will play in the championship game of the State Division I high school hockey tournament. And Hudson Valley, the women win the National Junior College Championship with a 1-point win over Quintus Sigmund of Worcester, Mass. 51-50, the final score there.
Okay. Thanks, Ed.
Enough, Ed. Thank you. Next on this special hour-long Storm edition of News Center 6, we'll go live to Dan DiNicola in New York City. Stay right there.
What you're looking at are pictures from Georgia in our continuing coverage over the blizzard of 93. These pictures coming from Georgia. In Atlanta, Georgia, they got up to 9 inches of snow, and that is incredible for Atlanta, Georgia. Having lived there once, I can tell you that that would absolutely paralyze the city.
It shut them down.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, New York City has been hit hard by this storm. Wind gusts of up to 77 miles per hour, about 11 inches of snow. Dan DiNicola's in New York City, and let's join him live. Dan?
Hi, Marty. Right now, there's a lull in Manhattan. The bad news earlier today, there was snow, sleet, rain, thunder, no buses out of the Port Authority. On 57th between 5th and 6th, it was closed because of falling windows, broken glass. I walked Midtown at around 4 o'clock this afternoon, and the rain was coming down on my head. It felt like shards of glass. The 911 calls were up about 15%. At about 5 o'clock, things looked up, especially on the west side. As you know, New York is primarily a walking city, and there were a lot of people walking. I saw a lot of lovers frolicking in the snow, a lot of camaraderie. There was a car that was stuck. I stopped to help it. Within minutes, 5 other people stopped to push the car out, including a man and woman in their 60s.
The city seems to come together in cases like this, Dan, always.
Sushi, yogurt, videotapes to kind of hold up for the night. But there are also people standing in line for movies. The Broadway theaters are open. People were being warned about having a false sense of security because they say things might start up again around 9 o'clock. But that's what it's like right now.
Okay, Dan DiNicola reporting live from New York City.
And we're going to go now again to Lance Wheeler, who's telling us about what's going on in Columbia and Greene counties. He's atop our Hudson Bureau in Hudson. Lance, I imagine the scene much different from the way it is in New York City, where Dan DiNicola is.
Yes, it is, Mary Beth. We just got word from District Manager of Niagara Mohawk, James Keegan, that lightning was responsible for a brief power outage in the city of Hudson. Lightning apparently hit a primary line in a residential area near River Ledge Road in the city and blew some fuses. About 22 customers were affected, and we are told that they were back. Power was restored in less than a half an hour. But it remains windy and very blustery and very, very cold.
It seems to me, Lance, that a lot of the shelters that are being set up are at the fire departments. People should probably call their local fire department to see if there is one set up, if they need to go there.
Probably the best thing for them to do would be to call either the Columbia County Sheriff's Department or the Greene County Sheriff's Department or the state police for that matter and find out where they are if they don't know at this point.
Okay, Lance Wheeler reporting live from our Hudson Bureau. Thanks a lot for that update.
And when we come back, we'll get complete road condition reports, so stay right there. And we're looking at pictures from Atlanta, Georgia, where they are... And we're looking at pictures from Atlanta, Georgia, where they are not used to this kind of weather. Snow in Atlanta, high winds, all part of the blizzard of '93, which, in fact, has paralyzed the Capital District. Fred Cole is our traffic reporter, and he has the updates on the road conditions. Fred?
Marty, roads are impassable, very limited visibility out here. Every major highway in and out of upstate New York has been closed to traffic. Now, that includes the New York State Thruway, the Massachusetts Turnpike, Interstate 88, and the Adirondack Northway, all closed to traffic. Now, Interstate 787 between Cohoes and Albany also closed to traffic. A state of emergency, meaning nothing but emergency equipment on the roads in the following counties: Columbia, Delaware, Fulton, Schenectady, and Schoharie. And in Saratoga County, it's not a state of emergency, but police say stay off the roads. Marty?
Okay, Fred, thanks for that report, and we'll be back to you in a little bit.
And you can see how the snow is piling up right now. Let's go back out to the weather patio where Kelly Boland has been tracking just all of the snow totals, and they're really pretty amazing, Kelly.
They sure are, Mary Beth. In fact, where I was standing about a half hour ago, it is already completely filled with snow. The snow continues to really pile up out here on the patio with wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour in some cases. Let's check our storm totals, our updated totals now. Over a foot in parts of the Adirondacks, about 7 inches in southern Vermont, 13.4 inches at the Albany County Airport officially, 18 to 20 inches in the Catskills, as I've said, 10 inches at Lakeville, Connecticut. We've got 12 to 13 in Guilderland. That's in Albany County. North Adams checks in with 14 inches, 12 to 13 inches in Hudson, Columbia County, 11 to 12 inches in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, and 9 inches at Averill Park in Rensselaer County. These, of course, thanks to our weather spotters who have been keeping us informed about the storm. And we also should mention that measuring the snow can be very tough, especially when you've got the blowing and drifting snow. It's really tough to keep up with these storm totals, but we've been doing our best, and thanks to our weather spotters. Visibility, of course, has been very poor, as you might imagine. Visibility down to 0 at times. So, of course, not a very good night to be traveling at all. Back to you.
Everyone should heed the authorities' word that people should just stay off the roads and stay home, right, Kelly?
That's right.
All right. Thanks a lot, Kelly. Well, when we come back, we'll have a more extensive look at our continuing coverage of the blizzard of '93, including another look at how it's affecting New York City. Stay with us. Right now is video from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and apparently one of their parades went on today as scheduled. Looks like it might be a St. Patty's Day parade. They were hardy souls like the folks in Troy who did their parade today. Albany's parade was, in fact, canceled because it just got too bad to have a parade by 2 o'clock this afternoon.
That's right. And our coverage is continuing now. The snow is letting up a little bit in New York City, but our meteorologist Steve LaPointe says it is just a lull. There's more to come. Jacqueline Adams reports now from a big snowy apple.
5 minutes. Conditions aren't too bad, but meteorologists predict that by morning there'll be further snow accumulations because another blast of Arctic air is going to be coming through. In this region, the governors of Pennsylvania, Delaware, New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut have all declared statewide disaster emergencies, and their message is a simple one. If you don't go out in these blizzard conditions if you don't have to, but if you do go out, use extreme caution.
We got to advise you to leave. We can't make you leave, but if you're going to stay, we'd like your phone number.
This time, residents along the New York and New Jersey coasts had no excuse. This time, they had plenty of warning that a deadly wind and snowstorm was approaching. By mid-morning, the electric power was out in Seabright, New Jersey, and the locals were evacuating. After 2 punishing storms earlier this winter, seawalls are down, streets are flooded, and fears are high. Mayor Charles Rooney worries that as bad as it was during the day, it'll be even worse at high tide later tonight.
It'll be a disaster. If the winds don't subside, they're just wild. They'll be wild. They're going to be 75 miles an hour wind. The water's going to come over that seawall, and it's going to be a barrier reef.
Hundreds of anxious travelers were stranded when airports throughout the region closed. In New York City, 1,700 snowplows were out in force. High winds knocked several windows out of one midtown skyscraper. But by late afternoon, Mayor David Dinkins was satisfied with the city's response to this latest challenge.
New Yorkers normally come together in times of crisis and assist one another and really don't need to be prompted to do so. But nonetheless, I would request and suggest respectfully to you that you might check on your neighbors.
There was some good news amid the thunder and the wind and the snow. This storm struck on a weekend, so commuters could stay at home, and anyone who didn't have to shovel could marvel at the wonder of so much whiteness. In Pittsburgh, St. Patrick's Day revelers were undaunted by the storm. In Boston, though, high winds and driving snow convinced officials to postpone their parade until next week. 105 years ago to the day, another massive blizzard struck New York, dumping as much as 5 feet of snow and killing 400. This time, though, the region coped. Just in these 2 minutes, it started to sleet out here. Forecasters have been billing this as the worst storm of this century. And so far, that billing seems to be just about right. Bob?
That's living up to its title.
I believe. She was talking about airports, and we should tell you the Albany County Airport is closed until tomorrow.
At least till tomorrow, and I guess they'll be assessing it hour by hour to see what they can do and whether flights can come in or out. Meanwhile, our continuous coverage of Blizzard 93 will continue, including a live update from our newsroom on what's closed and what's not. It's mostly closed, let me tell you. And Steve LaPointe when we come back.
Our special coverage of the blizzard of '93 continues. Pictures now here from Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. Not accustomed to snow today. They got about a foot.
And the blizzard has really shut down lots of things from up and down the East Coast. Ed O'Brien's live in our newsroom to tell us what's not going on in the Capital District. Quite a lot, Ed.
Well, Mary Beth, there's a lot not going on in the Capital District. 787, which runs along the Hudson River from exit 23 of the thruway, that's in downtown Albany, all the way up to Cohoes. That is closed to traffic at this hour. Also, the state thruway is closed from exit 16, which is in the Harriman area, all the way out to exit 46, which is out around Rochester. That's the state thruway closed right now. Can't get on. Mass Pike, they're not collecting tolls. They say you can get on. It's at your own risk, and you probably shouldn't. Also, the Adirondack Northway is closed, folks.
All righty, Eddie, thanks very much for that live report from the newsroom. Steve LaPointe is at the weather board, and let's head that way. Steve.
Thanks a lot, Marty. Here's the latest regional radar composite one more time, showing heavy snows across much, if not all, of the Channel 6 viewing area right now, with winds on average between 25 and 30 miles an hour around the greater Capital District, 30 to 50 miles an hour down to the south end across the higher terrain in the Berkshires. But look, a bit of a break seems to be developing. This is that lull Dan DiNicola was talking about. It appears as if this may work up into the Capital District overnight tonight. So the snow may come to an end for a little while. The winds may abate for a little bit, but there's much more coming around the backside of the storm. Storm center still over Virginia. That's going to track up through central New England, and all that snow and wind's got to come around behind it. So don't be lulled by a potential lull. Total storm accumulations look like it's going to range from 12 to 24 inches across the Capital District. In fact, we will be closer to the high end of all these ranges. A major storm, and it will continue. Back to you, Marty and Mary Beth.
Okay, Stephen, thanks for all your hard work. And remember, go and check on your neighbors, please. It's real important.
Especially the elderly neighbors who might not have anyone looking after them.
That's extremely important. We've been on the air all day, and we'll continue to be on the air all night to tell you about the blizzard of '93.
We'll be here for you with live cut-ins and all of the up-to-the-minute information on the blizzard of '93. And remember, if you lose power, you can hear us on a portable radio at 87.7 on your FM dial. And if you need us, call our tips phone at 346-TIPS. In numbers, that's 346-8477.
Stay tuned to NewsCenter 6. We'll see you in a little bit.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.